All right, ladies and gentlemen, grab your coffee because this is going to be a really, really good episode. I am so excited. Hello, LaToya.
Hello.
How are you?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm good. All right, so we all know about the rapid development of new drugs and all kinds of therapies and devices, and also the increase in clinical research studies. There has been an increase also in participation in terms of what patients can do. And I am so excited. My guest today, LaToya Hinton-Howery, is an absolute powerhouse. I know I said that in my social media post, but I can back that up. She's the CEO and Research Director of Next Innovative Clinical Research. She's got locations in Houston, Texas, and Chicago, Illinois. And we're going to learn about everything that her company does and her contributions to introducing clinical trials to minority populations. So we have a whole lot of questions and things that we want to ask you before we go any further. Y'all make sure to like the video if you're new here, subscribe. And I do want to pause and say a quick shout out to Parade Deck Live TV. That is an additional channel. Hello, everybody on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, everywhere. I'll do what you need to do and make sure that we can get LaToya's content out. There's just a lot of really, really good information that we're going to be able to get. So that was a mouthful. I am excited that you're here. I want to hear about you and your organization and how other businesses and physicians can partner and all of that. But I just want to start with just a quick introduction of who you are and how did you get into this?
I stumbled upon it. So I am LaToya Hinton-Howery. I am the CEO and Research Director of Next Innovative Clinical Research. And we're a clinical research site where we conduct clinical trials that are facilitated through pharmaceutical companies. So before the FDA can approve any medication, the pharmaceutical company will run trials on the medication to, one, make sure that it works for the indication that they say it works for, and to also note any side effects. So that's what I do.
I love that. So there's a note. So a quick shout out to Nate, who is our road manager for this show. If y'all want to know how to get on, that's who you talk to. It is full on Black girl magic. I'm in my feels right now. So LaToya, when we talked, and it feels like it's been a while ago, but when we talked recently about what you do, I definitely wanted to ask you. So there's Parade Deck TV. Thank you. I definitely wanted to ask you some of the why behind it, because when we were talking and you mentioned doing clinical research trial, I honestly, because this is the mentality of our community, I was like, but there's so many reasons to fear doing that. And I loved some of the information that you shared, even breaking some of those contradictory thoughts and the fear that a lot of folks in the African American community have around clinical research. So what would you say, about that?
Well, I think because my journey with clinical research, as with anything, it was brand new to me. So I was in my master's program, and my master's is in public health. So a lot of what we were doing was community-based research. I started looking for or clinical research. So I learned from the very basics, very beginning. I'm a medical assistant by trade. So I had the clinical aspect of it. And then with my master's degree, I had the knowledge base of it. So once I started getting into clinical research and going to the different meetings for the pharmaceutical companies, I saw or noticed that I was the only person in the room that looked like me. Even the site that I actually worked that was participant didn't look like me. I'm like, why aren't there any African Americans participating in clinical trials? So what I noticed was, while I was going to the meetings, that there were no Black doctors. Doctors are participating in clinical research, therefore the participants aren't participating, or Black participants aren't participating in clinical research. So what's really crazy is that I saw this vision back in, I want to say maybe 2010. I saw this back in 2010 and noticed this in 2010. And what's crazy is right now the FDA has mandates and stating that pharmaceutical companies need to have more diversity within their trials, that they need to include more minority participants. But I saw this like a long time ago. So ever since then, 2015, I have been working towards including more African American doctors, trying to get them active in clinical research, actually showing them how they can participate in clinical trials. And now here we are in 2023, and now pharmaceutical companies are looking for people like me to help facilitate their trials, to connect them to Black site owners, connect them with Black sites. So
what would you say?
Also talking.
Oh no, go ahead. We have a little bit of delay. Yeah, we have a little bit of delay. It's okay. Go ahead. Finish your thought.
That's okay. But also speaking with the community about participating in clinical trials is like my favorite thing to do. And that's going back to the question you asked, because I started running my mouth. But when people always say, I don't want to participate in the clinical trial, I don't want to be a guinea pig. What about the Tuskegee experiment? And I'm tremendous. And with IRBs, with the review boards, to make sure that the pharmaceutical company and also the doctors are doing everything ethically correct, so that we're not violating the rights of the patients. And then also, I love to use the example of a patient who may have high blood pressure and they're using losartan. If your doctor puts you on lisinopril, losartan, any medication, they don't know exactly how it's going to work in you. These doctors are practicing physicians. They're practicing on you, basically. So for all the patients that they have, for thousands of patients that they have, they don't know exactly how a medication is going to work in you. So they give you a medication. So like, let's say you take this medication, you go home and you have an allergic reaction, or you just react very badly to this medication. You got two options. Either one, you're going to go to the emergency room, or two, you're going to schedule an appointment to see your doctor again. When you schedule that appointment to see your doctor again, you got to wait. Once you get there, you have to pay your copay again. And so these clinical trials following you, there's no wait to get into see a doc while you're on the trial. We're going to make that happen right then. And then if there's something happens to you while you're on the trial, the pharmaceutical company is going to cover that cost. So like, let's say you on some lisinopril and you have like the worst reaction and your ear fall off. And you go to the hospital, the pharma company is going to cover that expense if they can show that it's a probability that it was caused by this medication. So if I'm trying something for a disease that I have, I would rather be on a clinical trial, because I'm under the direct care of a physician and a clinical research coordinator that's going to follow my care and make sure that my blood levels are where they're supposed to be.
I think that was the thing that stood out for me for your company, is the level of care that you give to the patients. Because to your point, a lot of times people sign up for this research, they run into issues, they have side effects, and they don't know where to go. And I think y'all, for those of y'all who are watching, who are trying to figure out like, what's the benefit? Why would I want to get involved? We'll touch a little bit on that, but I just want to clear the air before we even get into the benefits. That this organization, I can't speak for no other ones, but Next Innovative Clinical Research gives you that higher level of care, and that doesn't exist everywhere else. That's why she's kind of taking the U.S. by storm right now, and why I think people are really responding, because they know they can come back to you and your team for that kind of help. So if I'm a patient, what are some of the benefits? Like, why would I want to join a clinical research study?
So number one, before participating in any clinical trial, we make sure that you're healthy or healthy enough to participate in the trial. So we do what they call a screening period, where we'll do blood work, depending on the trial that you're in, do blood work, radiology, whether it's a mammogram, EKG, healthy enough first. Then after that, then you'll participate in the trial. A lot of people, don't have health insurance, or their doctor does not have that cutting edge knowledge to see what's new and innovative out there. So when you're participating in the trial, you're trying something that's brand new, that's not out there, and could potentially help you. So it's like, it's always worth the try.
Yeah. So, all right. So I have a couple of prepared questions, because I am not wasting this woman's time. Like I said, I'm a huge huge supporter of this organization. And I wanted to find out from you, just from your perspective, what are some of the roadblocks that you run into as a CEO, as a founder, as a game changer, to be honest, with, what are some of the roadblocks you face, dealing with promoting your business, promoting clinical research in our community?
So as far as promote, and that's one thing I want to take a step back, where I'm going to do something different than what's being done right now within clinical research. Because right now, a lot of pharmaceutical companies approach doctors and physicians in already established doctors' offices to conduct the trials, which makes sense because they have a patient database which they can recruit from to, let's say we're looking for women who have fibroids or kids who have asthma. It makes more sense for pharma companies to go where they already have a database. So with my Houston office, that was our protocol. That's what we use. We use what was in the database. We use referrals. But in Chicago, I'm using more of a community-based research outreach where I can speak with the community and get participants that way. And so what I did was partnered up with a couple of different community organizations so that I can get the word out that way. Because in Chicago, my office is standalone, it's just me. So it's not a doctor's office with an EMR or, electronic medical records. It's me going off of the partnerships that I've made with other people and partnerships with other physicians to say, hey, this is what I have going on in Bronzeville. Let me speak to your patients. Let me speak to your community members. Let me tell them about research and let them know what we have to offer.
Can you talk a little bit more about the partnerships? Because I know there's also an opportunity, right, for physicians to work with your business. So can you talk a little bit more about the partnerships and how that happens?
So first of all, the partnerships with the physicians, I want to say that's one thing that's not easy for a lot of people because I've been in healthcare, I want to say since 2000. I've met a lot of doctors and have a lot of relationships with different people who can introduce me to other people who then introduce me to more people. So to say I know a lot of doctors, I can just text and say, hey, this is what I got going on. Would you like to participate? It's been really crazy. But then also partnerships with the community is very important because there has to be a trust factor. So for me to come into this community and them welcome me, to say, okay, we want you to be a part of, is one thing about, I have to be knowledgeable about what I'm doing. And when I'm speaking to them and it sounds like I know what I'm talking about, they're like, okay, we're all in. And then the other thing with my Chicago location, I was strategically placed. I was looking for a location between Northwestern University and University of Chicago. I actually used to work at both. I know the research experience at both hospitals or at a university, period. It's night and day. Participants don't want to be, herd around like cattle, or they don't want to go to a facility where it's going to take them a half an hour to find parking. Once they find parking and get into the building, it's going to take them, a good 15 minutes to find where they need to go. Yeah. And then once you find that, then you go this department to see the doctor, this department to go to radiology, this department to go to the lab. It's a lot. Like it can literally be an all-day process at the hospital. But at my site, it's a one-stop shop. You get your labs done there, your physical exam there done. The pharmacy is there. Like everything is right there. And radiology is walking distance. It's around the corner.
Wow.
So I was very strategic about what I needed in that area.
Y'all, I'm trying to drop some of the jewels because there's some things that you're sharing that you're doing with your business and why you're successful that a lot of folks who are thinking about going into business need to add into their repertoire and the value that you're providing as a business to the community. So I was grabbing words: experience, credibility, trust, service, support, and community. And I'm sure there's a ton more, but I just wanted to just pause for a second because that is part of what's making your business stand out so much. It's really easy to see the value that you're providing, not just to the patients, but to your partners and to the community, as a whole. So I want to find out, just get your business a little bit about, you're doing a lot and a lot of amazing things for our community. And quite frankly, we probably don't thank you enough. And I'm personally going to do that right now because I do understand this is a lot, y'all. What motivates you to keep going?
That's a good question. What motivates me?
That's my Oprah question.
And that's the thing. I think because I'm passionate about what I do, it doesn't take a lot of motivation. It's just one of those things. It needs to get done. And I just really like what I do. It came easy to me. And that's really different because I love speaking with other business owners, and you'll see I own a restaurant, I'm a beautician, I'm an esthetician. Like they have all these common things. And when I say I own a research site, and people are like, well, what is that? Well, how did you get into that? Like, it's one of those things that I love talking about because it's not common. And that's what I learned to realize, that I'm not common. Ooh. And I love being set apart from everything and everybody else. And then knowing what I'm good at and then building off that. Because another thing, with partnerships as well, I had participated or got accepted into the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program. I graduated this past April. And that was a great experience as well. Because if you're a business owner, a lot of business owners, they know what they're doing in the business, but they don't know how to run a business.
That's
like
right.
I'm a good researcher, but I may not be a good boss. I may not do payroll correctly. So therefore, just investing in myself so I can learn more to make my business like even better, so that I can learn how to expand and learn how to, have partnerships with other organizations. So I think that's like really key. So when you're passionate about something, that motivates you, and then motivates you to do bigger and better things.
Wow, that's a whole, first of all, that's a whole consultation, jewels, gems, and all of that. And you're so right. There's a lot of folks that start business, and also they don't understand the level of work that goes in it, because what a lot of people are seeing, what y'all are seeing right now is after years work of research and, really for real, like behind the scenes, digging into what you're doing and trying to find the best practices for your business. And so I think a lot of times when people see purpose in action and they see the kind of the tail end of the story, they don't understand the struggle that it took to get here.
Yeah.
So they assume that, oh, I can do that. Y'all can't do what LaToya is doing.
A lot of people will say, oh, I can do it. And not that anyone can't do it. It's just work. And because I make a lot of things look easy.
Come on.
A lot of people think, oh, I can do it. If LaToya did it, I can do it. And I'm like, all right, go right ahead. But like I said, I've started this. It was years ago where I started at the bottom, where I just acquired a lot of information and then worked at multiple jobs so that I can see how they do it in different areas. Like I left a nice paying job to go to the University of Chicago just so I can see how things are being conducted on the university side. Wow. So it's like, you got to invest in yourself. You got to believe in yourself, and like I say, when you're passionate about what you do, when you take the leap of doing different things, it's easy.
I love that. And just a shout out, bring it on from Parade Deck to live TV, y'all. Okay, just trust me. Also, make sure that we'll make sure the information is in the description so you can love, like, and follow LaToya. I absolutely want to make sure that people know where to go after this is broadcasted. And so another question I wanted to ask you is, what kind of advice do you have for potential I see that. I grabbed that question. What kind of advice do you have for people who are coming into the trial? What do patients need to be aware of before they, come to work with you?
So to work with me or to be a patient?
To be a patient.
Okay. So the first thing I would tell them, number one, the informed consent is like an instruction manual of everything needed in a clinical trial. Okay. A lot of participants will participate in a clinical trial and they just say, oh, I want to get paid. Of course, we compensate the patients for participating, but it's also advancing science. So one thing I always want them to do, encourage them to do, is thoroughly read the informed consent, no matter how long it is. Of course, I'll go through it with them to make sure they understand the gist of the study, but it gives information of what the trial is, why it's being done, who it's being done on, how long the trial is, exactly what's going to be done, how long, when, if they're going to get paid or not, and who to contact if they feel like their rights are being violated. So one thing I always encourage any participant to read the informed consent. And then also, a lot of people don't know, you can go on clinicaltrials.gov and you can look up any participating clinical trial site, and it'll give them information on what studies that site's doing. Or you can do it the reverse way. Like, let's say I want to look up acne. I have acne, and I want to see if anybody's conducting trials in my area. And just type that in, type in a zip code, and it'll pop up any site that's conducting that study.
Oh, that's all. And then it'll show you the age ranges. So again, especially for us, parents of teens that are going through that period, we can go in and research. That's powerful. So let me ask the question that came: are these trials paid? That's the big question after why I want to be a test subject.
Yeah. So majority all trials that's conducted by pharmaceutical companies are paid.
Okay. Wow.
And it ranges for different prices depending on where the study's conducted, because I can get more money in Chicago for my patients than Houston. Okay. So it depends on what the site negotiate, but on average they can get paid $50 to $125, $50, depending on what's being done at that visit.
Okay. All right. So my other question now is because you didn't mention Georgia where I am. I know, but like when I talked to the first time, I was like, when you come to Georgia, and you talked about the partnerships that you established with different physicians. So if I'm in another state outside of, by the way, are you coming to Georgia? Are you going to expand?
I don't know, but I have a friend that actually has a site in Georgia. Yep, the site is randomized now, so I know they do a lot of nephrology trials. So you can look her up. It's Dr. Lovey. Shameless plug for my girl.
Yes.
And that's the other thing, being within this industry, you'll find some other unicorns that may have a site, a couple of people there, a couple of people here. But when I tell you, it's not common for us at all. It's not common at all.
I love that. So again, y'all, here's an opportunity. And then, outside of that, my other question was going to be, where do you see your business going? As you're doing like a forward looking, where do you see this going?
So that was actually a question in Goldman Sachs before. One of the things we had to create was we did our financial forecast, but also seeing where's our business, what's our end goal. Yeah. And one thing that I would really love to do is within the next 5 years is open a multi-specialty research facility on the south side of Chicago. Like I already envisioned the space where I wanted to be 3 levels, where in the bottom floor we're doing phase 1 studies, where sometimes the patients have to sleep overnight. So it'll be more built out like dorms, because we have to draw their blood like every hour sometimes. Yeah. And then the first floor would be physician suites, because a lot of doctors want to be private practice, but they can't afford it. So if we have something like suites where they can come in and see patients a couple of days a week where they're not paying a full lease, offer that. And then on the 3rd floor, my research studies. I want to do derm, women's health, nephrology. Like I want a lot of I want to bring a lot of things to the community.
I love that, y'all. So I want to shift a little bit from business. I know you're an amazing, amazing mom. For those of y'all who we were talking to her daughter last week on Team Thursday. So y'all go back. I never do this. I don't plug other people's stuff into a live, but I'm gonna go ahead and plug Team Thursday with her daughter. Who I also believe that she's now my daughter. So Sakara, if you're out there, call you all the mama. But she was just amazing. And I wanted to find out from your perspective, because you're a business owner, you're an entrepreneur, you're a CEO, you're very successful, you're a community leader, and yet you have managed to raise an amazing, amazing, amazing young woman. And what do you, as a mom, like, what do you want your daughter to remember you for? And how do you manage the relationship doing, literally saving the world?
So as you know, that's my baby. Kyra is my baby. And I was a teen mom. I had her when I was 19. I had dropped out of college. I was a student at Illinois State. So I was clueless as to what I wanted to do. So it wasn't like I'm this person now and I was super focused and knew what I wanted to do. I was clueless. So I'm with a baby and trying to figure out life. So the best thing that she had was a front row seat to watch me flourish. So she saw me work a job, get fired from a job. She saw me, go to college, go back. I remember plenty of times when she would go to school with me. When I was getting my associates at South Suburban, they had a daycare for the kids, and I would bring her with me to school. So she watched me get my bachelor's, my master's, and she was just front row seat. She would see me up late doing homework. And I think that's where she gets her drive from, because she saw it and she's seeing the results of hard work. It's like you put the work in, you get to know as much as you can possibly know. And I saw her interview where she said, my mom always taught me to try to do everything myself.
Yes.
And at my site, I can draw the blood, I can consent the patient, I can recruit the patient, I can draw the blood, I can do everything but the physical exam. I negotiate the budget, the contract, I do the review board submission, I do everything. Wow. So for me to be able to do everything and then be able to, delegate who does what, it's like I say, no business owner can run anything unless they know how to do it 100% themselves. And then therefore they have more empathy for their staff when things need to get done. And like I said, being able to be this woman and just mature into this person, my daughter got to, she was with me the whole time. So she had no other choice but to let some of this, rain on her.
Yeah. So, and I love that. And I love that. That's the part, I think, of legacy building that I really appreciate. And when you can see it showing up in her, and you literally can see her manifesting everything that you're doing, and she's kind of walking that purpose and walking that path and all that, but also knowing that I'm not trying to turn this into like a praise, but I have to say it because this is her mom and she needs to know that she's already making such incredible impact. And I'm all about, look, Black women, strong Black women making positive impact and influence. That's what's up. So when I recognize it, I have to call it out and just say thank you, because what you've done, the way you shaped her as a mom, it's impacting my daughter who's 14. And so we're really, I know I said that before we came on, but we're grateful for that, because that seed you planted is actually being harvested by us on the other side of the country, right?
And I can actually tell you a pivotal point, I think, not necessarily in our relationship, but how she viewed life and work. I want to say this was in 2015 when I was working at the University of Chicago, when I decided that I wanted to open my own clinical research site. I quit my job. Like, I just quit. I didn't have, I told you that God told me to quit my job. Like I was at JFK Airport All-Star Weekend with my friend, and I was upset about something going on at work, and God literally said, leave. And I'm confused because why is he talking to me in the middle of the airport? I'm trying to have fun with my friends. And for me to follow what he said and to quit my job. And the thing is, looking back, he didn't say when, but in my mind, it was quit now. So when I got back to work, I put my 2-week notice in, and I went on my journey to start this site and start doing research on my own. And one thing that I noticed that she did not fully tell you in the interview last week is that she did the exact same thing a couple of weeks ago. She quit her job and she's doing things. I talked to her today, and she has 2 other positions that she's working on her own. So for her to be an entrepreneur and make moves herself by herself and doing the things that I did, it's really great to see. It's really great to see.
I think there's also some seeds of encouragement in here there's a lot of veteran business owners that are a part of the whole parade deck. I know there's 6-point-something million y'all out there. So take these seeds for yourself. Be encouraged. We know it's not easy. You do have to have a plan. You have to do some research. You got to know how to actually run a business. Don't go into things blindly. Everybody stays in their lane and you'll be very, very successful, and, stop and, support the community. So, so I have a couple more questions for you before we bounce out of here and give people back their dinner hour. Okay. So a question that I was thinking about is around the community and how because you mentioned that you work closely with community leaders, and I wanted to just press in a little bit more to find out what are some of the groups that you work with, or how maybe can groups, how can groups get in touch with you, or what are you looking for within the community relationships? And then my last question is what can we do to help you? Obviously, I'm telling everybody I know, go to Next Innovative Clinical Research. Make sure you find out the information, work with people who are credible and have experience and they're trusted. But what else can we do to support you?
Okay, so right now I am working with Bright Star Community Outreach, and they're an already established community organization where I'm just happy to be a part of. I'm just happy that they're welcoming me so that I can, assist them with their community efforts with research. And then in turn, they can help me where I'm getting the word out and informing the public of clinical trials and research. And there's also another organization that I'm looking to partner with. It's called It Takes a Village. And they
Okay.
have organizations in Bronzeville, in the Chicago area, and also on the West Side, where they work with the community to help establish, a stronger family unit. And so just speaking with people about different research methods and things of that nature. But the one thing that I love about research is definitely trying to decrease health disparities, because
Yes.
a lot of people know that if they don't go to the doctor, or they say, I don't have insurance, so I can't go, but offer them an alternative route, because even though my doctors that I work with cannot be their doctor per se
Mhm.
on that clinical trial, but we're following them. If by chance that they get excluded from the study and can no longer participate, I can definitely give them referrals of where they can go, because now they have a connection to me, and now I'm invested in them and their health. So I'm going to make sure that they're connected to other individuals that can help see through whatever ailment they may have.
Wow, that is awesome. And y'all, I'm just gonna take a quick. Let me remind y'all in the room, please like the video so that we can get more eyeballs, and it keeps the algorithm happy, and make sure that we get as many people viewing this. We're gonna share this out. I'm gonna be blasting on social media, because I'm not ashamed to say I'm a huge fan of Next Innovative, and I'm gonna be supporting her, and I hope that you do too. Thank you so much for this. I think that not only did you give us information about your business and all the things that you offer to potential patients and clients and doctors and all of those things, I think you put a lot of people at ease explaining what, we're coming in thinking about clinical research from a totally historical perspective, and not realizing that, y'all, times have changed, and there are actually resources and people out there who are trying to actually help us, and there's healthcare issues that we need to get help with, and this is one of the ways that we do that. So before you hang up, we're going to hang out in the back room for a little bit. We're going to tell everybody thank y'all for watching. Do you want to, before I close this down with my fantastic outro music and the sun shining, y'all can still see me, is there anything else that you wanted to share before we shut the party down?
So one thing that I am looking to do is make more partnerships with different pharmaceutical companies. I know right now I'm doing a trial in Texas with Myovant Pharmaceuticals, and also
Okay.
one with Pfizer. I've worked with AstraZeneca, but I'm still open to working with various different pharmaceutical companies so that we can network, partner, and potentially get their drug on the market.
Okay, so then shout out to all of my thousands of connections on LinkedIn, many of whom are doctors, a lot of folks who are in pharmaceuticals and different variation, especially in sales, etc. Please make sure that you're tagging, loving, liking LaToya. And if there's an opportunity, please get in contact. If you can't find her, you can find me, and I will direct you to her. I don't want any opportunities to fall along the side. And also, I want to do a shout out really quickly to Dr. Greg Charlotte. He's going to be on our program towards the end of the year, but he's doing incredible things here in Georgia. And I just want to make sure that he's also someone, while I'm thinking of it, that there's a connection between you and him as well. He's just another person who's just doing incredible things, and there's an opportunity for y'all to do something. So since it's in the spirit now, I'm gonna go ahead and say it.
And also one other thing,
Yeah.
I want to shout out another organization that I helped co-found.
Oh.
Noir Research Collective, and those are with my friends Danielle and Lovey. And Danielle was the founder of Black Women in Clinical Research, and I spoke of Lovey earlier. She
Yeah.
has in Atlanta, and what we do is we assist doctors or research site owners. We help them find clinical trials. So, like I said, different partnerships with different pharmaceutical companies is really helpful, because not only would they have access to me and my site, I have access to many different sites across the U.S.
Okay, y'all need to bookmark her site, because I know there's a lot of information there in the one place. But again, if you have any questions around clinical research, if you're a doctor, if you're a pharmaceutical company, if you're an agent of change, if you're anyone within this field, please make sure that you're connecting with LaToya. And like I said, honestly, if you can't find her, you can find me, and I'll gladly make sure that you're rerouted. Because listen, if you win, we all win, right?
Of course.
All right. So with that, we're going to tell the people, have a good night, and we'll hang out in the back at the after party.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me.
My honest pleasure. Thank you.